Before I started with therapy, I didn't think I'd have anything to lose, but equally, given I consider myself to be relatively self-aware and in touch with self-care and ways to make myself feel better, I wasn't sure what new skills I could learn or develop either, but I was wrong. I self-referred using the North Yorkshire website. During my assessment, the therapist and I discussed guided self-help as being the best treatment option for me. I had 6 fortnightly sessions with a psychological wellbeing practitioner. I found the experience life-changing. In 12 short weeks, I made such progress. And I know, because my therapist told me, that this is in part due to my engagement in what we've discussed, but also in no small part due to her. I wasn't sure how much trust could be built up over the phone, but it turns out actually a lot can be. My therapist's ability to listen, summarise, empathise and also bring appropriate lightness really helped unlock this. In addition, we explored my issues holistically. My therapist quickly picked up on where I was particularly interested in a tool like Take Thought to Court and sent me resources that catered to my interests. This made me feel responsible for how I was feeling and how I would manage how I was feeling, which worked for me really well as I knew that was the key to feeling better. I said earlier that I was self-aware, but my therapist also noticed patterns of behaviour that I wouldn't have realised had she not flagged. For example, I'd always say when things go wrong rather than if. And for me, this was evidence of her listening really deeply, which made me feel heard and also enabled me to understand myself better. Lastly, my therapist's communication was great. She let me know what I could expect in each session and also the next, including when she was on holiday, so I knew where there'd be a gap in sessions. This helped me plan what action I'd take between sessions and again, ultimately made me feel in control of my treatment. It would be wrong to say that the treatment completely removed all worries about my pregnancy, but it did reduce them significantly. I had concerns about my baby not arriving safely, but I was able to manage these so that they didn't create a racing heartbeat, a need to constantly seek assurance, or a night of no sleep. One of the key things I learned through the treatment was that pregnancy is unpredictable and there is no way to completely eliminate the possibility that something could go wrong, because nobody knows. I therefore developed coping strategies with this in mind. For example, when I found out that my baby was small and required extra growth scans, I asked a consultant what possible paths were following this. I was then able to rationalise that for most people, these scans were simply a way of monitoring the pregnancy and they didn't necessarily mean an early delivery or a poorly baby. I unfortunately had high blood pressure throughout my pregnancy and ended up being induced because of this. I found myself able to cope with regular monitoring and medication leading up to birth and birth itself, which included a forceps attempt and ultimately an emergency C-section, way better than I ever imagined, and I attribute this to the therapy. In fact, whilst I wasn't unconcerned, I was relaxed throughout the birth, which I think is a massive achievement for me. To summarise, it's no exaggeration to say that I've found the treatment to be life-changing. I have tangible examples of where I've been way less anxious in the face of previous triggers, including physical evidence. For example, midway through the treatment, I actually got a normal blood pressure reading at the midwife. I'm a huge advocate for this service and have told family, friends, colleagues and shared through social media how awesome it is and how worthwhile it is to engage with. I am fortunate in that I've got no qualms at all in sharing how I'm feeling and a really strong support network too, but I think this could be even more powerful for people who are reluctant to share how they are or if they lack support.